Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the Galen Snyder Show. I'm Vince Reed, along with my engineer, Mike Samsel. This will be our wrap-up show for the year. We're going to go back about what happened during the course of this season for this young Pennsbury Ball Club, and of course the possibilities of next season coming up for this team as well. And as far as that goes, we look at them with a really fine season this year, losing their opener, reeling off a total of 10 games in a row and getting victories there before getting knocked out in the second round of the PIAA District 1 Quad A tournament by North Penn. And we certainly had a lot of good games during the course of this year. We've had a lot of good times. I think the games were really enjoyable for people. Had an opportunity to not only be able to hear them, but of course with those home games, be able to watch them as well. And really, it was a nice season all around. When you look at it, Coach, we can look back now as to what matriculated during the course of the season for you. But when you look at it, this was a young ball club coming in. They had their growing pains, but it only lasted one game. And then all of a sudden, they got better and better and better. And as I mentioned, I hadn't seen a team in a while that really did improve each and every week for that long a span. That's kind of tough to do, but I think they really did. And then just came up with one that ended up being a good ball game, but was on the losing side at the end of the season. When you come down to it, you look at that season, in between those two losses, it was really a great season for you.
It really was. Our guys played well. They played as a team. They got better week to week. Only a couple little, I would say maybe we didn't play exceptional, really good first half against Truman or a really good first quarter against Ben Salem. But, for the most part, we really, every game we seemed to get better. And, I was real proud of the whole program, from the coaches through the players, through all the support.
When you look at the season and we take a look at, of course, what was transpiring early on with the team being so young, especially defensively with this ball club, only two guys back from last year. I think really when it came down to it, you relied steadily early on in the season, and I think they really helped out and gave you a big lift on those seniors who played for you this past year.
Sure. Actually, two of the guys returning, only one was a senior, Brendan Campbell.
Yeah.
The other returner was a junior, Victor Delgado.
Right.
So Brendan did a great job on the defensive side. He was responsible for the most part getting everybody lined up the whole season, all the younger players, providing leadership, being sort of the brains of the defense, and also a very active player for us as well. So no, he did a great job.
I talked to him about that when I interviewed him a couple of games into the season, about the fact that being a guy like that you had to be able to really settle down the rest of these guys, realize that they hadn't had a lot of experience, and work with them. And I think as they matured, these kids, they apparently caught on right away. And really, when it came down to it, they didn't play. After you got through a first couple of ball games, they didn't play like they were underclassmen.
No, we have some good football players, that are in our younger groups, our junior class and our sophomore class. So, they're good ball players, and they learn on the fly. They learn quickly, and it's kind of funny, being in that type of situation. You've had other teams where you've had some turnover, and it really takes a while to gel. It really takes a while for guys to really understand what it's like to play varsity football and to adjust to the speed and the intensity of it. But our guys, to their credit, adjusted very quickly.
You take a look, and we'll mention the guys who are, of course, the seniors on the line there offensively. Austin O'Neill's going to be back, and you got Aria is going to be back, along with Sam Raywood. So that gives you three there. But Micah Mollahan, Elliot Muka, John Leventree. You look at Ciotti and Cruz, who were coming in with the plays for you there. Mitchell August. These guys were seniors who really helped you to build that offensive forward wall.
Yeah, on any team you have guys who get a lot of the headlines. You need them. You have the playmakers, guys like that, like the Charlie Snorways, right, and the Breon Clarks and such for us. But you need those guys who make it go. You need those guys who who glue everything together, who provide leadership, who open up the holes,
right, exactly,
for them. And that's what like Muka and Leventree and Monahan did for us. And Ciotti and Cruz, they accepted their role. They're both athletic kids, and You know, they made some big plays for us, some big catches in tight spots, and so they did a great job as well. And of course, excuse me, one second, Mitchell August. Mitchell played a great role for 2 years, was our backside tight end when we go double tight, and then the Tenet game.
Yeah, you needed him on the line.
Yeah, Micah had to sit out, so Mitchell came in and did a great job at guard, having not really played much guard before.
And while we're talking about the offense a little bit here, it was interesting to see the year that Chuck Snorway had, and a couple of others. Snorway with 1,528 yards, had himself, when you look at him, all told, he's got himself 24 touchdowns, 22 of them rushing for him this season. And you take a look, of course, at the same time as Raheem Thompson, who had 6 touchdowns, 850 yards. These are guys that are going to be coming back next year. And, of course, Ronquay Smith, he had himself 19 TDs rushing and over 1,000 yards as well. When you take a look at the 3 backs you had this year, I think really when you come down to it, they had 3,460 yards among the 3 backs that you had this year. You know, that doesn't happen very often.
No, it does not. And the nice part about it, and you see where each of them, you know, is scoring their touchdowns and gaining their yards, is the fact that they all block for one another. And they're not a big crew of kids. I mean, they're not big kids physically.
No, they're not.
Physically,
No.
but they, you know, have accepted their, you know, their responsibilities of what they need to do in order to make the offense work, and that's to carry out fakes and to block, and they're physical kids.
You know, and of course, we've seen the maturity as well of Breon Clark, who did his share, getting himself almost 500 yards on the ground and also 5 TDs along the way this season. And Breon showed that, you know, he can put the ball up in the air. He had a chance to throw it more often this year and had some really good throws during the course of the season. I would think that if he gets a couple of good receivers in there, this could be an even tougher ball club next year. I think if he gets a couple of receivers who really run routes very well, I think he next year could have a really breakout season.
Well, I mean, there's a maturity factor, you know,
right.
Being a senior. Anybody who's played football understands the difference between your junior and senior years, and the maturity that takes place in the game experience that kicks in. And then when it is your senior year, I mean, you look at a Micah Mollahan, who was or an Elliot Muka, who were starters for us the year before,
right,
as juniors. They were good players for us, but you know, they took a significant step up this senior year, and I think you'll see the same thing from Snorway and Thompson and Clark.
You know, when you look at it and you think about it, of course, you have 3 linemen coming back next year. But the fact that you've got 3 of the 4 that were really dazzling everybody all season long in the backfield back again, that sets up for what looks like another really good offensive unit. And I would think that if you come up with a guy who can take the place of Ronquay Smith at that fullback position, you're looking at, you could possibly have the same kind of numbers in here from each of these guys next year as you had this year.
Well, that's the plan. I expect it. You know, I expect us to take that next step next year. You know, we have 6 starters coming back on offense. We have 8 or 9 on defense.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, I fully expect us to you know, we're going into a tougher league, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit. Actually, it's our league. It's just going to be a little tougher. You know, some other teams are coming in. So, you know, I expect us to take a big step up next year.
All right, we'll be back with more from Aria Health, presenting you the Coaches Round show here today with Galen Snyder. Back in a moment.
At an orthopedic institute, world-class specialists, surgeons, and technology are a must. Personal care is too. The Aria 3B Orthopedic Institute is redefining care in Center City, Bucks County, and South Jersey. With over a century of experience, the 3Bs, Doctors Booth, Bartolozzi, Balderston, and their partners personally guide you from treatment through recovery. For joint replacement, sports medicine, spine care, and more, call 1-888-ORTHO-3B or visit aria3bortho.org. At the Aria 3B Orthopedic Institute, you come first.
And we're back once again with the Galen Snyder Show, and I'm Vince Reed. And we talked about the offense a bit. We're going to talk about that defense, which, as we mentioned, really didn't have too much coming back to this season and had so much to fill, so many gaps that you had to fill, whether it be the line, the linebackers, the secondary, it didn't matter. There weren't many guys who had played last year. And of course, Brendan Campbell did a real nice job as a guy who was kind of the leader of the ball club, being the senior on this ball club who had played extensively last year. And he was kind of the backbone of the team to put them all together and kind of lead them along the way. He did a great job of that. But when you look at it, Coach, and you see the guys that you've got coming back, I'm going to mention some of them here. Anthony Pitt is going to be, he'll be a senior next year. Rob Daly came in, had 2 touchdowns, interceptions for you during the course of the year. He was tough. You got the likes of Cody DeBeek, who's going to be able to come in there. He also did a nice job with interceptions. Victor Delgado, Dalton Hose, your son, Luke Snyder, who should be, I'm sure for Luke, he's looking forward to the fact that having an off-season off because of the fact that, get himself ready for next year again. So you look at that, and you look at having him back, and you got the likes of Jack Kenny, along with Jordan O'Neal going to be coming back. You lose some good ones there as well. We know that along the way, but you also have Joe Strong, who you use later in the season. Nick Paragano, this one kind of surprised me. He came in later in the year as well, just a sophomore, and played extremely well.
Yeah, I mean, you rattled off almost about 10 different players that have played for us that are underclassmen that are coming back, and really, I mean, we had 3, we're losing, well, John Jakimowicz, defender, both got injured, but, by the end, we had 3 seniors on the defense the last couple of weeks. Everybody else was underclassmen, so, the seniors had great years. Burt Robinson,
right,
and Mata Jajua, in addition to Campbell, did great jobs for us. John Jakimowicz was a really good leader. Quinn Fender was a very tough kid. So we lose some good kids, but the amount of good players we have coming back on the defensive side is really, like I said, that's why I anticipate us having a really good year. I spent all last year saying, hey, we're going to be young, and prefacing all my conversations about the team. Well, if you do that the year before, then that means coming up the next year, you gotta, you can't short sell the team.
Yes,
say, hey,
exactly.
This is our year. We have to step up, and we have to really, do again what we did this year and then some.
Yeah, and when I look at it here, as I mentioned, the guys, of course, are going to be coming back this year. This is a total reversal for you. You had so many guys that you had to fill in this year, and coming out next year, you're only going to look at guys who maybe can maybe a couple of spots that you have to fill in for, and guys who can really come in and be the understudies to some of these other guys.
Yeah, and there's some other younger guys who played some significant minutes from time to time for us, guys like Jarvis Mays,
right,
Joe Maurer, Chris Ruprecht, who got to run the ball for us. There's some guys who have shown that they have the potential to do it. Plus, let's not forget the fact that both our punter and kicker are back as well.
Yeah, I noticed that the same thing there, where you do have the people to be able to come back, and I think probably the biggest thing you're going to be looking for next year is something you've done over the past few years, but won't have to do it as much, and that is looking for a couple of more stellar linemen offensively for your team, because usually you've been a ball club, except for this year, that I can relate back to 4 or 5 years, that always had to build the offensive line. And this year, that wasn't a situation for you. And next year, it won't be as big a deal as it had been for previous years, because you will have 3 coming back.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you from that standpoint. We have to find 3 guys, but some years we have to find 5 or 6.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
This year we had 4 coming back. So we still have 3 coming back
right.
next year, and obviously the defensive situation and the backfield situation is completely different.
And when you look at the team now, and you see where it's come from the beginning of the season until now, the way things have gone for you, you've undoubtedly instilled a winner's attitude into these youngsters who had their first opportunity to really, get some real action this year. And, to have that behind them, to know that they can be that good and better, has got to be a big plus for you entering next season.
Well, a lot of these kids have been, playing football for a lot of years. I've known many of them since they were playing Pop Warner and youth football, since they were playing alongside my son or against my son, things like that. So I've known a lot of these kids. I've watched them through middle school. They played at places like Charles Bain, for Matt Applebaum, and they played for Penwood, for Brian Davis. And so I've seen these guys develop over the years and then go into ninth grade and play for a black and orange team. So, I fully know what they're capable of doing, and I really look forward to it.
All right, we're going to be back with more here on the Galen Snyder Show right after this.
The Aria 3B Orthopedic Institute is redefining care in Center City and South Jersey. And our 50,000 square foot location on Aria Health's Bucks campus in Langhorne features private rooms, free parking, and nearby hotels. With over a century of experience, the world-class 3Bs, Doctors Booth, Bartolozzi, Balderston, and their partners personally guide you from treatment through recovery. For all your orthopedic needs, call 1-888-ORTHO-3B or visit aria3bortho.org. At the Aria 3B Orthopedic Institute, you come first.
And we're back once again here with the Galen Snyder Show and talking about this past season for Pennsbury. A big one there, double-digit wins. And, of course, we failed to mention about the fact, too, that they, again, for the second year in a row, went through the Suburban One League National Conference and won the title for the second consecutive year, going undefeated in the league. And that's a tough task to happen 2 years in a row.
It really is. It really is. And as we said before, I mean, the last time we won back-to-back national titles was my junior, senior year, 84, 85, quite a long time ago. And then the last time we actually, Pennsbury went undefeated 2 years straight in the league, I think goes back to the 60s.
You know, when we're looking ahead to next year a little bit as we're, of course, wrapping up this season and looking forward to next season as well. And when you look at that, as we mentioned, there's going to be the new alignment coming in for the Suburban One League National Conference and the others as well, the Continental and the American as well. But, of course, the one that Pennsbury is involved in is the National Conference. That's going to have a little different look, not so much from a few years ago when you had the North Penn still in there. The Penn Bridge is going to be in there, and you got some other teams as well, Coach. When you look at that and see what it's going to be like next season, you look at that, and I take a look at your schedule, and we always talk about how tough it's going to be so far as that goes to get through the Suburban One National Conference. Well, guess what? It just got tougher.
Yeah, the Suburban One National just turned into like the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be quite a conference coming up here.
Yeah, you look at it with those teams coming in, the likes of those ball clubs, and you have the likes of Sallerton in there. You got Central Bucks South. You got some real, tough customers. That's gonna really look like a team that we thought before this conference you had to look at and say, it's going to be tough. Right now, this is. It is anyway, but it's going to be even stronger as far as that goes as being the top conference in Eastern Pennsylvania.
Well, you're keeping some of the teams that have done very well, like the Abingtons,
yeah.
the Chamonix,
yeah.
Pennsbury. Then you add a CB South, who should be strong. They have Josh Adams coming back, who's a tremendous running back,
right.
Division I player, great player,
yeah.
player. You have North Penn, obviously, is North Penn. You have Penridge with. Who's had a good team the last couple of years, and they have their old coach Hollenbach back, who does a real nice job with their program. Souderton was a little down this year. They usually get right back and are a good club. So you're adding CB South, Souderton, Penridge, and North Penn to an already pretty strong conference.
When you take a look at it too, Coach, and when you look at it, the nice thing I think about the fact too is the fact that we're losing a couple of schools that are going to be into other conferences, but at the same time, you're going to be having a couple of those teams back in with the Council Rock ball clubs.
Well, fortunately, we didn't want to. I tried to keep as many local games as possible. I know Vinny Bettison from Rock South. He wanted to do that, so he actually scheduled his first 3 out-of-league games because Rock South's leading the league.
Right.
He's got us first, and then the second week he's got Ben Salem, and then third week he's got the Chamonix.
Yeah.
And so the administrators at Rock South and also Rock North, I commend them for stepping up and trying to keep some of these local rivalries. So we'll play at Rock South week 1,
yeah,
and then we'll play at Rock North week 3, even though we're in the league with us.
Yeah, and of course you have Frankfurt, and as we mentioned again, Frankfurt, who gave St. Joe's Prep all they could handle in their championship in District 12 just the last weekend, losing that one by a score of 10-7. And we said that Frankfurt is another team that you always have in there, and they're another one that you play them each year. They're a tough ball club. and they proved themselves again, like they were the team to worry about in Philly in the public league.
Yeah, absolutely. They do a great job. They got a great tradition down there for many years, and you know, teams like that, like Frankfurt, like Easton, when you have that type of tradition, people gravitate to it.
Right.
Kids want to play there, and they just continue year in and year out.
And of course, when you speak about Easton, there's Easton right again, taking on Parkland for the second time this year, because they're in the semifinals, they're in the finals right now, coming up, matter of fact, in their District 11. That's the championship game for those two, going to be played this weekend as well. And you took on that Easton team, you got 28 points on them in the first half, and really, I was hoping that there's a possibility that, it came close, that you might get a second shot at Easton. And Easton, that gives you an idea of what you've been playing before the season starts. Frankfurt's just beaten out for the championship. Easton's playing Parkland for the championship of their district. And that's always been a help for you, to have those tough clubs early.
Yeah, I believe so. And, it's a shame, we won't be playing Easton anymore, but we felt like it was more important that we preserve some of our local rivalries, since we're going to be traveling up to Sourton and Pembridge and some of those places.
Well, it's going to be an interesting year. It was a great year this year, and as we said, the Falcons here of Coach Galen Snyder getting themselves their second consecutive Suburban 1 League National Conference Championship, going undefeated through the league, finishing with a 10-2 mark and playing into the second round of the playoffs when it comes down to it in the PIAA District 1 Quad A, which is the quarterfinal round, of course, where they were upended in that one. But boy, that was a good year. It was 10-2, lose the opener, reel off 10 wins in a row, and then get knocked out of the playoffs in the second round of the playoffs. But a strong team is going to be coming back for this ball club. They have a lot returning. They have some spots to fill every year. Everybody does. There's no doubt about that. But they certainly are going to be a veteran ball club next year compared to this past season. And I think, Coach, when I look at it, and I don't know about your coaching staff, you can tell me what their thoughts were, but as you headed into this season, would you ever anticipated the fact you'd gone undefeated in the league, had 10 wins in succession with this young group?
No, I would not. No, I would not. And, I thought the league was, I knew about Neshaminy having a very experienced, very strong team coming back. Abington's always tough. I knew Rock North had some good young players that were going to be better this year. So, Downingtown East had 3 or 4 Division I players. Of course, Easton is Easton. Frankfurt has 2 or 3 Division I players. So, with the turnover, I did not expect us to do what we did. I was hoping, I was hoping we'd make the playoffs, maybe win 7 games, get to the playoffs, that kind of thing. I think I mentioned that to you. We had been going through a little cycle here of making the playoffs for a couple of years, and then dropping to 5-5, and then going back to the playoffs and having winning league titles, and then maybe dropping a little bit. So that's what I wanted to avoid, and we did that in an even much bigger way.
Yeah, and I know, when you got this crop that's coming up for you next year, I can look back to at least 3 years ago when you said to me, watch for these young kids that are going to be coming up. We're going to have a pretty good ball club in a few years, and you're right about it. Matter of fact, maybe you were right about it a year early.
Yeah, and it gives you an idea of what we can do next year. It could be real tough. And yeah, I did. I knew a lot of these kids for years, and I expect us to be even stronger next year. Even though we're losing, and I said this after the game, we're losing a group of seniors who not only played hard-nosed football, but also provided a great deal of leadership for us. And that was key. And the challenge I put forth to the guys coming back was, hey, look at the model that the seniors set for you. Look at what they did. And that's what you want to try to emulate when it comes to leadership for this year and the next.
And I know, I was down on the field with you there, and it's the first time all season I really got close enough to listen to what you had to say to your kids after that last loss. And I thought that was one of the nicest speeches I had heard given to your seniors and also to your underclassmen who are going to be coming back. A lot of times you could be down after that, but I'll say one thing: you were very positive with the kids. reflected on the seniors and what they had done and given them so much credit. And then, as you just mentioned, then told the underclassmen who are coming back that, you've been shown the way and now you have a chance to do even more. And I thought what you did at the end of the season to get these kids, this is what it's all about. This is what coaching is about, what teaching is all about, is what I heard you in the huddle with your team on the field after the ball game.
Well, I appreciate it, and the biggest thing for everybody to understand is, this was the seniors team, and it's their senior year in high school, and that's what this is all about. This isn't about coaches or that type of thing. It's about those kids, their parents, their experience, their high school experience, and those kids stepped up, and we did challenge them in the off season.
Yeah.
I said, listen, we're losing some great football players from the previous year, and how are we gonna replace those guys? And they did so, and even a little more.
Yeah, very much so. It was a great season here for Pennsbury. We're looking forward to the next season as well, coming up with this ball club. And for Galen Snyder, I appreciate all that he has done this year, and of course the work that he and his staff put in with this good ball club this season. Galen, congratulations on really a tremendous year.
I appreciate it, Vince. Thank you.
And we'll be doing the Galen Snyder Show again next year, of course. For my engineer here, of course, Mike Samsel, I'm Vince Reed. Good night, everybody.